Welcome to Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 334, TechCon Unplugged Recap. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live show where we discuss the ins and outs of running your computer repair business. Let me introduce the co-hosts, my good, super fabulous, wonderful John Dubinsky from the Maven Group. John, how you doing?
I believe I am now fully recovered from TechCon, so I'm happy to be in the StreamYard doing the show, Jeff.
Great to have you, man. And yeah, it's been a while. Been a while since we've seen each other, right? All right, so
yeah, big time. Like 7 days.
all right, let's go ahead and share a tip or story that the audience could learn from.
Well, my tips are TechCon related. So what I have in the show notes for everybody is just in case anybody needs some information to just circle back. Keep in mind that we were at the Holiday Inn Grand Rapids Airport, got all the information for the hotel. Hotel manager's Connor. Our event manager was Amy, who, by the way, I thought the event staff was freaking awesome. They were very nice. I also have a link to the Gerald R. Ford International Airport here in Grand Rapids and a phone number in case you have some problems with them that you need to sort out. And Dave & Buster's as well. Phone number and the address here just in case you left or need something there. The only item I know, and I don't know if we've ever found them, is there was a pair of glasses that were left. And I don't know if anybody ever claimed those. And those were left at the hotel on the last day, and we found those during cleanup. So reach out to one of us if you're missing your glasses. And then last up is do not forget to check in at the TechConUnplugged.com website for 2020 details. Put your email address in, get locked and loaded for next year's show, depending on whatever Jeff and Paco are going to do.
Well, I appreciate that, John. And yeah, so it was a great event, and we'll get into that in a minute. So my tip for the week is make sure that you continue to get plenty of sleep. I know we harp on this, and I know a lot of us are really, really bad at it. But one of the things I noticed is I did not stay out till dark 30 every night during the conference. I actually came in a little bit early. I think Saturday night was probably the latest night I stayed out, and that was a little bit past 11. I think I was in bed by midnight and went to bed. I think the night before that, John, we ended our night at maybe 11-ish or something like that. So when you've got to get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is, for most of that's just for me. For most of the guests, 7:45, 8:45, whatever. They could kind of get up and stroll on down, which was fine.
Well,
So,
I even missed the Sunday fun. I rolled out of there to go do a couple errands, run home, talk to my wife, do something I need to do there. And I had plans to meet up with you guys, whoever was heading over for pizza or whatever ended up happening. And Sarah, who's my wife, said that I was talking to her and literally fell asleep on the couch. And the next thing I remember is I woke up at 1 o'clock and replied to a couple of text messages of "Where are you?" and decided to go to bed. So game on. Sorry I missed that, but yeah, old man, you're right. Sleep good.
yes, it's good. And that's the other thing too is I had a couple of people that were once I got back to work, they were kind of going, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if you got sick?" Well, so the other little tip, and here's the thing, things always happen when you don't want them to. So it's no fun either coming into an event where you don't feel well or leaving an event where you don't feel well. One of the things I do, and this is just a diehard trick that I believe works. There's many things out there, but I actually started getting a tickle in my throat a few days before the conference. Yes. And so what I do is I take Zicam, just a little tablet that melts in your mouth. I pop those periodically, a couple a day. That's it. Just getting a little extra zinc in your body. Make sure you get plenty of sleep before you take off. All that stuff's important. And so this stuff will help you stay healthier. I think a lot of times the reason that we get sick or run down is because we're running ourselves ragged. So if that's you, just understand that you can absolutely change that no matter what your thought process is. You don't have to work 24/7. You can basically take the time you need to rest, relax, and rejuvenate.
And to answer the questions in the chat, yes, my ice cubes are still glowing.
Good battery power. Yeah,
That's right.
we'll probably talk about that. Oh, so let's go ahead and let's start off the show. Basically, TechCon Unplugged 2019 is in the bag. It's all wrapped up, sort of. And the reason I say sort of is because while all you lovely people were able to go home, get back in your businesses, do what you need to do, I am still doing and paying bills and logistics and stuff for TechCon Unplugged 2019. So there's a lot more that goes into this stuff, and I know everybody appreciates it, and everybody's giving me kind words and hey, you guys really did an awesome job. And we'll get into that. We've got some emails and some Facebook chats and stuff like that that we're going to share during this show. But basically, what we wanted to talk about is what happened at this event. Now, before we get into that, John, because I want to hear it from your perspective of what you saw, because you stood back, you did have a session, but you saw the interactions and what people were doing and how it was going. So I don't want people just to think that it's just me saying how it was going. From my perspective, being up front, kind of running the trains on time and all that kind of stuff. But
Well,
before,
I think the first thing to do is clear up just a minor bit of confusion that, and you'll never say this, but really the kudos for any success we've had there, and I'm going to use that word we have, really goes to you and Paco. I mean, let's be honest, you guys drove the bus, drove the train, and did literally 90% of the work. So, I mean, if there's any applause or kudos to be given, it should be given to you guys. Now, with that said, I don't want to take anything away from Mike Smith and Marvin B. I mean, they were on the committee. They attended the calls. Their feedback was, I would say invaluable into making the good parts of the show even better. So we can't negate that, nor can we reduce their involvement. I know Marvin spent plenty of time doing his session that I was on there with. He did all the heavy lifting there, which was great. And we'll add on to that a little bit later because that might be one of the negatives I'll bring to our comments on the show. Not Marvin, but
no.
and then finally, obviously, I brought the show home with the 2% of the effort that I gave to make everything work out in the end. So, high five. But really, the couple times I looked over at you or at Paco when nothing quote unquote was happening at the venue, it was still really loud in the room. Lots of talk going on. The other thing is, I saw most of the time the vendors were with us. The data people, the compliancy group people, they were at a table, and I saw a lot of involvement with that. Magnus Box, just that whole group. And Tim was working the room. I saw him Tim Conco walking around a lot. And obviously the marketing team and all that. So, that's what I really saw. And then a lot of the time, although, it's funny, you always seem to run out of time to talk to all the people you want to talk to. I made a couple new connections, like a shout out to Kevin Ranke, young tech, part-time tech, full-time job, part-time tech, right here in Michigan. Didn't know who he was until the conference. So it's, those kind of cool things happen. And then you back up and, when Tom Bull arrived, I think I ran into him at the front door of the hotel, and we talked a little bit, and he said, oh, he had a list. Never did I have any time the rest of the conference to talk to him about this list, which was probably like number one on my list. Talk to Tom about his list. So, the good and the bad. I certainly didn't touch everybody I wanted, but then it goes back the other time. It was great to reconnect with some people that I saw in Canada or saw in DC, that sort of thing. So overall, my opinion, great conference.
Well, I appreciate that, and yeah, I appreciate those kudos and stuff. But again, let's talk about. It was really a team effort, and without everybody involved, there's a lot of things that wouldn't have came together because even though Paco and I kind of we headed the ship sort of, there was a lot of stuff that went on in the background. So first of all, I want to thank, and he couldn't be here today, is Paco LeBron, because if it wasn't for Paco, here's the thing, you guys would not have had this conference. I guarantee you this was not on my list ever. And so because Paco really, he was like, I want to throw a conference. I want to throw a conference. That's why he said, will you help me? And I said, no. He said, please. And I said, no. And he said, pretty please, with a cherry on top. Then I said, no. No, he made some good points. He's like, I want to do this. I think we can do it. I think we can do it right. I think we can pull the community together, make it kind of like what we do here in the podcast of pulling the community together along with vendors. And that's really what we wanted to do. So I saw his vision for what it was, and I decided to step aboard with him and go through all the craziness that a year of preparation. And we did pretty good. There was a couple things we were kind of a little sloppy on, but we learned for next time, right? So it's always a learning experience. I never look at anything as a quote unquote failure. So I want to thank Paco for taking his vision to the next level. I really appreciate that. Next on my list is John Dubinsky. Now, John has always been there as whether you see him or not, he is always an encourager and a cheerleader to what is going on. So as he's making his cheerleader movements, I really appreciate that, because without the encouraging words, sometimes I don't care how strong you are. And believe me, I'm pretty strong in character as far as I really don't give a crap what people say or do for the most part. There's some things that irritate me, but it's still nice to have that encouraging word that says, hey, guys are doing a great job. Hey, this is really going to work out. Let's, hey, did you think about this or whatever? Kind of have that resounding voice in the background. That's what I appreciate. Plus, John did an excellent job, even with the subpar equipment, which we'll talk about later, that he couldn't do his full presentation, which I thought would have been interesting for a lot of people there, especially since a lot of people actually weren't doing what he was talking about, which is VLANs. Next is Mike Smith. Mike Smith he came in, and Mike Smith is Mike Smith. He gets up there during his session. He's got a boot cast on his leg, and he's up there in front of people. He can't sit. He's so excited to sit there and talk. He's sitting there or actually standing, walking around, talking to the group, really working the crowd and really engaging them in the stuff that he was talking about. So that was awesome. And also, hey, Mike Smith was in the background, helping with the committee meetings, and came up with a lot of the subject matter, and kind of the whole group really did the subject matter that we decided to bring to the audience, and it really worked out. So we went through some back and forth on what we wanted or what we didn't want. And, he was an integral part of that. Next is Marvin B.
Well, hang on a little bit on Mike. The other thing that Mike really brings to is he's a connector. He's a talker and a communicator. So he will, bring multiple people into a conversation, and then everybody gets value. So that's the great thing about Mike.
Yep. Yep. Very much so. And then Marvin B, he comes in and he's got the technical chops, and he's got, I'm going to set up the networking. He worked with Datto during their presentation. He also worked with Snap AV with their equipment. And that was wonderful. Boy, that Blue Jay is really annoying. People hear that. It's like, really? Right now? I got my window open because it's very hot in here. It's that time of year, fall, where the AC is not running, but it's a little hot in the office with all the equipment. Anyways, side note. So Marvin really came in, we picked him up from the airport. He was excited to be there, and he really helped in the background with bringing a lot of stuff together, again, with ideas and all that kind of stuff. And the other thing is, he put on great presentations and really kind of guided the conversations with the people from Datto, with the people from, with nobody that was there from Snap AV, but we're kind of showcasing their equipment. And again, he brought out his yellow tool. Yes. Or green tool. I think it's green now, yellow, green, the almighty Fluke. And so, but the nice thing about your session too, John, is that you kind of brought some things of, here's some tools that you can use to assess a network without having the big daddy expensive tools. And then Marvin goes, well, and this will make your life more convenient if you can actually use this. And if you can use it on X amount of jobs, it really will pay for itself in the time that you put into assessing a network at a customer's, base.
Well, like you said, B's such a pro. He brings so much experience, yeah. And yes, both of us, we had a lot more planned except for the screen snafu kind of, it wasn't even worth trying to do. My job was going to be showing people how to use Arachnus gear and create a VLAN for wireless and on the smart switches and all that kind of stuff. So we'll save that for next year. I still think that would be a good one then, or an awesome one there. And, and like I said, to B's credit, he did all the heavy lifting on our presentation plan. And, he dealt with Datto directly. He actually got some demo gear from them and demoed it before the conference. And he was speaking with Snap a little bit with Paco and I and taking care of all that. So, and then he initiated the calls when we wanted to review what we were going to do. So, all that wouldn't have happened without him, being on the ball and being willing to take that on, as well as running his own show. So that was awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And next, a person that we probably don't really need to introduce, but it was kind of a surprise that, not a surprise. We knew he was coming, but Kerry Holzman, from kerryholzman.com, his YouTube channel, where he shows how to build computers and fix computers and all that kind of stuff. And he's got quite a following out there. He decided for a lot of people that don't know, he's from Michigan, and he decided to come up and rent a house for, I don't know if it was a week or two, something like that, right around the conference time. And he brought his girlfriend, and they were able to come to the conference, and it was a great time. So Friday night, we were going to have all the podcasters up for Ask Me Anything. So I'm calling people up, and I call Kerry Holzman, and it's funny because Kerry tells me on Sunday when I'm sitting here talking to him later, he goes, yeah, Mike forgot to tell me that I was going to ask me if I wanted to come up. He goes, I was surprised he asked me. I was like, really? So, but I just wanted him up there because I wanted his perspective. We had Mike Smith, obviously. We had Kerry Holzman, Matthew Rodella. He does a computer business computer business marketing podcast. I don't know, Matt, you need to work on that title.
We had maybe you need to stop drinking before the show. Either way.
And then Marvin B, and also Paco LeBron with all their shows. And again, I was up, kind of hosting the whole thing, but a lot of good insight. People were asking all kinds of great questions and just kind of getting an insight from us of thoughts about podcasting, about the whole industry and what we do on a regular basis. So that was kind of nice. So appreciate him coming out and supporting us. And he had some really, really kind words on Sunday and said, you guys are doing a great thing. Really appreciate it. He goes, even if I can't come, he goes, I still want to support you monetarily. And that means a lot because he could see the same things that we were seeing as far as bringing the community together. And we kind of need something at this level. And that's what I think is most important about what we did with this conference. So that part is exciting to hear that guy go.
Well, you're being a little disrespectful because if you were at Dave and Buster's and you spent some time, you need to, call him by the correct name, which is Galaxian Commander 1. So.
Oh, I did not hear. So tell the story because I did not hear that one.
He was playing Galaxian on the really huge screen and he was just rocking it. I mean, he played so long and so well, like his wrist was almost, he almost needed the cast when he was done. He was rocking it out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Old school.
That's awesome.
And for those people that do not know, Galaxian, old video game. Okay, Google it. Thank you.
For all the young ones out there. And John goaded me into playing a little Halo. So we were
goaded. I think you're like the only one that didn't swap out.
Yeah, I was into it, man. Once you guys started making fun of me because I was behind the 2 17-year-old kids and Paco, which was kind of, to be honest, to be fair, was embarrassing. And then we get to the end of the game and I'm 1 point less than one of the 17-year-olds. I beat Paco and the other guy, no problem. But yeah, we were neck and neck. So it was fun.
Told you that'd be good.
So let's talk about, here's the other portion of what came to the conference and the support that we got from the vendor side. We had Dado and we had Ryan Grindrod and Jennifer Kuhn. And Ryan was a riot to sit there and talk to. And I'll tell you what, out of everybody, there were definitely, you talked about the vendors being in the conference with us and kind of paying attention to what was going on. Those guys were really paying attention. They were really looking at and seeing the dynamics of the group and how everybody interacted with each other. The other cool side note, and John, did you notice this? Almost on every session we had, or every day at least, they were not in the same seats for the most part. There was a couple people that were probably in the same seats. A lot of people moved around to like different tables. So it really mixed the dynamic of the group up, which I thought was awesome.
I probably should have done that. I was one of those that didn't. I kind of found my same seat right there in the corner. Well, I mean, I got a couple of excuses for that, I guess, just based on what we were doing in the show. But really, I should have moved around more. So I put myself in a position to talk to the people that I'm sad now that I didn't. But yeah, you're right. A lot of movement. And like I said, I go back. Every time I just stopped and listened, there was always a lot of noise, a lot of people talking, which I really liked.
Absolutely. Next one was Compliancy Group. We had Ken Walters and Shauna Waldron, and those guys were a hoot too. They had a good time. sharing with us. And that was, believe it or not, that was Ken Walters' first time speaking in front of an audience. And I thought, knowing what I went through speaking in front of an audience, I thought he did a phenomenal job. And, and to be fair, it started a little slow, but he really kind of picked up his pace about halfway through, and he really drove some things home because the audience was engaged. They were like going, "Oh, I probably should be doing that. I didn't know that was a thing."
Well,
Oh,
his presentation almost got better when he got done with the presentation, and he was just talking about subject matter that he knew.
yep,
And people questions were coming. You could tell all of a sudden it wasn't a presentation; it was just him doing what he does. So yeah,
yep,
it was great to have them both there. That's
yep.
great.
And we had Freedom Voice. We had Alexa Platt Lee, and she was great, and really, got out there, really talked about the mission behind Freedom Voice, what they do, and what they could do for the people that were there. And that was kind of cool. Hey, come talk to me. And she was more than willing to talk to anybody. And obviously, vendors and business owners want to work together. So that was, we love Freedom Voice for what they do. If you want to get into VoIP, they're definitely the way to go. It's easy peasy. It really is. It's
Well,
easy setup.
well, her along with I can't remember his name. Who's the other guy that's been at the conferences from Freedom Voice?
Uh, oh gosh,
Well, anyways, I mean, they're just Alexis and
Paul
him.
Mendiola.
Yes, Paul. I mean, they're just the kind of advocates for vendors that are great because they're just there's no BS. It's a communication. Here's what we do. No, we don't do that, but we're considering. It's not a sales pitch. It's here how we can help, and it's kind of that earnest, vendor relationship, which is great.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously, we'll talk about him in a minute, but we might as well talk about him now. Wow,
Jason.
Mr. Miller, Jason Miller.
Yeah, I'm just glad he didn't win anything.
Yeah,
So,
we'll hear about that in the near future too. So, Jason Miller did a great job, really showing the insides of how you set your phone up, the different things you could do, and really explaining. And again, it goes back to we kind of feel bad. I had going into this, I had bought some audio equipment. I had some audio equipment that I brought along for the pure reason that I didn't know exactly what the hotel had. I even bought a speaker, which for the most part, the speaker worked out better than the one that they had at the hotel that was bigger, but it was very muffled when we tried to use it. And it was like, eh. So it was money well spent to do that type of thing. What I didn't count on was to have a cheap projector, which I should have. And this projector really was low on the light side, so you couldn't really see it real well on the screen. It was kind of grainy, and we'll work on that in the future of whether we buy one or we have the hotel. Hey, we need an upgraded one that we need to rent from you or something like that, or find somebody in the area or whatever.
my thought would be even maybe two screens, one up front, one halfway, or even just maybe a large television halfway back, just so the people in the back aren't dying to try to see what they're going to need to see. So
that's a good idea.
And like I said, I think we cleaned most of the audio up, but it might even help there to have two speakers, one halfway back too.
Yes. Yep.
So yeah, those are the two. Those are on my list when I was making some show notes. Those were the two big things that I had. Obviously, better screens for visuals. I think the vendors would appreciate that too, and then better audio, just to make it easier on everybody.
Yes. Yep.
So
I agree. Malwarebytes, obviously, Michael Sherwood and Alex Smith were again, those two guys just work in the room, working together. Michael's out there. He's really engaging the audience. He's asking questions. He's getting feedback. And that's one of the things that they really enjoy. So that was a great presentation to talk about some of their new products, where they're going in the future. And there were some great questions that came out of that. Let's see. Tech Marketing Engine, Matthew Rodella and Ramey Bell announced at this conference their brand new collaboration of marketing stuff, I guess is the best way to put it. So obviously, for those that know Tech Site Builder, the website blog builder, or whatever it is for, making blogs for your specific business. And then Ramey has the Tech Reputation. And then they also have the Computer Business Marketing Podcast, I think it is. Anyways, mouthful.
Don't forget about Tech Suite is part of that too. Or not Tech Suite, the webpage.
Yeah, I said Tech Site Builder.
Okay, sorry.
That's the first
I'm
one.
gonna pay attention for the rest of the show, I promise.
Yeah, you need to stop drinking before the show too. Where's your glowing balls? I mean, cubes.
Family friendly, family friendly.
Oh, so we also had Zoris came out, and we had John Fazio, and John is he is just a down to earth guy to talk to. Really believes in. He really wasn't pushing his product, but I know in the vendor hall he was able to talk to people about what his product can do to help them in their business. But I think he was really appreciative of being there and being interactive with the audience. And really, his session was about selling. And when I look at things like this, there's all these formulas that people try to formulate in their heads. But when it comes to selling, it's really just getting outside of your head and thinking about the things that you need to do that you probably do on a regular basis anyways. You just don't think about them. So I really enjoyed that. He really kind of brought it home. He probably could have used a little bit more time because it was, it was a run through quick. So
Well, I'm really excited about Zoris and the Archon Agent, and they keep improving that too. And I know they got some more stuff coming. So absolutely.
awesome. And then obviously we had from Roland Technology Group, Tim Conko, who, everybody loved him. He was a hoot. I guess they probably say that in Texas, right? Hoot.
That's people's name in Texas, just so you know.
No, that's Hooter, isn't it? I mean, no, that's never mind. So he came in and he grabbed the audience, and unfortunately we had a little audio snafu with the lavalier mics. They're not the most expensive mics, and they kind of were causing some feedback. We think we fixed the problem the very next morning, but I felt kind of bad for that.
He's a pro. He worked through it.
Exactly. Yeah, he did. He even gave some money away to somebody who said he was wearing a crappy mic, so that was cool.
Should have gave it to us so we could buy a better mic.
Exactly. And then we also had Channel Pro Magazine brought in their own Jay-Z, and that's Joel Zaidspinner, and he was great. He said, "Hey, my friends call me by Jay-Z," so that's what I referred to him as. But he came in and talked about Channel Pro Magazine real quick, and then he was there. He did a bunch of interviews for the magazine. He wrote a great article about the event, and I think talking to him on Friday night when this thing was kicking off, from my standpoint, he looked like he was really impressed. He's like, this is your first one. You guys did this, and this is, and people actually paid money to be here. And so it was really kind of cool to hear from the perspective of somebody who's been doing this for well over 20 years and has been around the industry for such a long time, to sit there and go, wow, this is kind of unique. And so we really appreciated that. Plus, I didn't know I think it was his birthday the Monday following, but it was nice to have him there Saturday night for Dave and Buster's, and to celebrate that with them. And again, just one of those guys, he'll give you anything. He's like, he even bought some extra food and stuff. I said, hey, you guys want some of this? And so that was really cool.
Well, and a shout out to Channel Pro, just from the aspect that if you're listening to this podcast or doing anything in the channel, you should have a quote unquote free Channel Pro subscription, without a doubt.
I mean, if you want to know what's going on in the industry and all the changes that are made consistently, because things are always changing, that's definitely the place to go. And we're happy that the Channel Pro decided to come in and be our media sponsor, and that was awesome.
And also keep in mind that once you're done listening to our podcast, they also have a podcast as well. So it's another one to add to your feed that I would suggest.
And I think it's Channel Pro Weekly, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, there you go. All right, we also had Magnus Box, Mike Sladowski. Every time I say that, I think of that. What was that cartoon? Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc. Yeah, yes. Sladowski.
Yes. Sorry, Mike. But Mike, this was his first time coming in as a vendor. It might even been his first time coming in. He's also a business owner.
First conference ever.
It was his first conference for everything, I think.
Yes.
So he was, and again, the feedback was he was pleasantly surprised with, wow, this is really cool. And he was able to talk to and interact with a lot of different people, which really is what this conference was about, right?
Well, when I talked to him, he said he closed some business. He also got some ideas from people that were using some other products. So, I think it was overall good for him. And I know the other thing he got is that he's hooking up with the compliancy group just to nail down his compliance too. So,
awesome.
High five.
That's awesome.
So we went vendor to vendor, not even just vendor to business partner.
There you go. That's how it works. And we also had Snap AV, who wasn't there, but they sent us a lot of equipment, and we'll actually talk about them. We got an email from them, from Scott Norman, that we'll talk about in a little bit, on Tangle, and they had some promo codes for us. Synchro, who couldn't be there, and they wish they could have. Clean Browsing, IT Boost, FreshBooks. And so these were vendors that weren't actually at the conference, but they had given us discount codes to, kind of advertise them through the conference and different things like that. We made some deals there, and it worked out good. They really like the community. They want to be a part of the community. So this was a way to do it. Hopefully next year we'll be able to get some of these to actually come in and actually be able to talk to you folks and get an idea about their products and services. All right. So next, let's talk about, again, and we kind of did this last minute, and this is why I really love this community, because we decided to have some panels and fill them with people from the audience, people that are doing this day to day, running their businesses. They have a lot of great ideas. They can answer questions. And the other thing too is, before I go into this, I said this from the beginning and I meant it. And I think this is one of those conferences that was very, very interactive. Would you agree with that, John?
I do.
I think we had a lot of feedback, a lot of people asking questions. People became more comfortable with asking questions and really getting something out of the conference. Hey, I want to know how so-and-so does this. How do you do this? And they would talk about it. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay.
Well, I know who you're going to bring up, and I'll let you introduce it. But I think when you talk about the panels and the people that we had up there, you know, a lot of them kind of bare their soul a little bit, and kind of showed the soft underside or the soft belly of their companies and some of the things that they've struggled with and the things they've learned from. So, I mean, when you do that, you're actually getting some information that you don't get anywhere else, which I thought was pretty neat.
Exactly. So we had Sean Scott, Nathan Drager, Adam Carpenter. We had Tom Bull, Jason Miller, Mike Wise, Joe Konozovich, Rick Smith, Ron Cervantes. So each one of these individuals during their sessions, they really, like you said, John, they really told about their business and what they did good and some things that maybe didn't work out and how to fix some things, and the audience was collaborating together and throwing out their ideas at the same time, which I think is what everybody really enjoyed.
Well, it's a good session when the room's really quiet, because everybody's really focused, really engaged. And like, you could really get that when Ron was up there and talking, and Sean Scott, period, all these guys. It was great. And it's, I've been around for a long time, but when you listen to somebody like Nathan talk, with all the experiences he has in the Great White North, it's just really interesting because I don't run into that. So it gives me tangents to think about and with what he's doing. So it's just super valuable, no matter what way you look at it.
I agree 100%. And the nice thing about the audience is just being able to kind of let their hair down. And I think what I was really surprised at is, even though breakfast was at 7:45 and we started the first session at 8:45, both on Saturday and Sunday, I'm pretty sure, maybe not 100%, but almost 100% of the people were in their seats ready to go. And that really says a lot, because that was a group of people that wanted to learn and get something new out of what they were hearing, because obviously you spend your hard-earned money, right? You buy a $200 ticket. You spend, if you stay a couple nights, you spend, $400 or no, a couple $100 on the hotel room. You stay longer, it's a little more. You've got, food was pretty much taken care of, which was what we wanted. And, even some of the other stuff that we added in there was really nice. But people are spending their hard-earned time and hard-earned money to come in there, and to see everybody really want to get the most out of it, that was encouraging.
Well, I want to go back to a little bit what you said there. It's kind of unfair for me to talk about the location because I'm 15 minutes away. But, if it was anywhere else on the planet, if I looked at the location, that was a huge positive in my point. One, I think it was a great location because a lot of people were to walk to a lot of other places. We had a brewery next door, a cookie shop. gas station. Best Buy was walkable if you forgot some gear. A full mall that was walkable, really. The accommodations, I mean, for the price, I thought were excellent. At least my room, I didn't hear anybody that had any big problems. I hope they didn't. I thought the staff and the food were great, especially for what we paid for them. So, all that, and then I got my bill at the end of the day, and I actually stayed an extra night. I kind of chuckled. We were all chuckling a little bit around the table or at the front desk because a couple of the guys were up there too. And it's like, well, this would have been one night in Chicago and it covered all the nights that I stayed. So, the parking's free. So all that's kind of nice. It's a little inconvenient. I get that. Maybe you got to take that extra leg of a flight to get to Grand Rapids if you're not lucky enough to get a direct. And sometimes that can drive the ticket price up. But I thought that was an asset to the location. And if we were to have it in Grand Rapids again, or you were going to host it somewhere else, I think that kind of urban area, not too big, but not too small would be great.
Exactly. We couldn't have picked a better location. And again, shout out to Paco LeBron because he found that. I mean, John, you live there, but he had come in to see you a couple times. He stayed at a couple hotels and was like, why not here? Or I don't know. Maybe you did a Jedi mind trick on him or something and said, have it in Grand Rapids. I don't know.
Well, yeah, like I said, that really worked out for me. But I think, part of the power was I was available to run over there a couple of times to check the internet and all that. And then it's halfway between you and him.
Right.
So I think that was pretty powerful too. So.
Yep. Yeah. And we only had to go out there a couple of times, but it was worth it. I made a round trip in the same day, 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back, a couple hours there. And that was my day, but that was fine. So and it was doable.
And I would go back to Connor and Amy doing a great job hosting the event for us as part of the holiday and staff. So
I'll tell you what, when I got up on Monday morning and I went down and I talked to Connor and we're kind of trying to settle the bills out and stuff like that. I'm not used to this type of thing where I'm walking out of a hotel, and haven't paid my thousands of dollars bill. And they're going, hey, we'll send you a bill, look it over. If it looks good, then we'll go ahead and charge your credit card you have on file.
That's not what I recall from staying with you in the past. I remember running and anyways, but
so I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of weird. And so he did send the bills over finally after a few days. They actually had a network, believe it or not, after the conference. This is how blessed we are. After the conference, they actually had a network problem. And so they couldn't produce an invoice.
Well, like I said, knock on wood, our AC worked the whole time. We didn't have any internet issues, everything, no power outage. So.
But I did express to Connor, I said, I want you to tell Amy and the rest of the staff that they did a phenomenal, awesome job. We couldn't have asked for any better people to help us. I mean, as soon as you were done with your plate, they were coming in and picking up the stuff, and they never interfered with anything that was going on. It was so smooth.
I even went over to the IHG website and left a little feedback. That's how good I thought it was. And I rarely do that. It was just a pleasure.
Yes, they were top notch. And John, the food.
Yeah, amen.
I mean,
anytime you can lay 2 foot-long hot dogs in one bun, I mean, life is good.
So overall, I mean, the food was phenomenal, and we had a couple people who had some dietary needs, and we were able to take care of those. Dave and Buster's, we might need to work on a little bit if we decide to do something like that again, to make sure that they've got menus ready to go. I think they were a little overwhelmed with the group we had there that night, even though it seems like that group does, or that room does hold 80 people. They kind of were. To me, they were a little understaffed. They should have probably had 1 or 2 more waitresses.
I thought they had a ton of staff. Where I think it would probably got bottlenecked up was there's probably like 2 bartenders trying to take all our drinks.
Gotcha. Okay.
Plus service the restaurant, because I think there was plenty of staff in there, and our drink order got taken right away. But by the time the drink got back, how fast you were drinking them, Jeff. I mean, we were waiting around for the next.
John, that wasn't me. You were looking in the mirror.
Okay.
Speaking of bad influences. All right. So another person I want to point out is Taz, Mr. Mike Cooley. This just a heart of gold. He brought a bunch of the things that we were able to raffle off on Sunday. A couple of SSDs, a nice backpack, a couple of chargers. I mean, without that, we wouldn't have had half the stuff we had. He probably brought most of the stuff, and I don't know where he got it from. It might have been, some other vendors or something. I can't remember. We did have a conversation about it, but it was like months ago. He said, yeah, I might be able to get this, this, and this. I'm like, cool. That's awesome. So I really appreciate him being able to do that and just here you go. And just, freely giving. Again, it comes down to this is the community of people that we want. This is this is who we are. And this is what we want to represent. So this is why, and we'll get into this in a little bit. This is why I will continue to do this as long as people want it. And we'll get into that a little bit. But the last group, and I'm going to lump them all together because I can't go through all their names. The last group I want to thank is the audience. And that is the people that showed up to the show and the people that spent their hard-earned money and took a chance on us bringing the goods, the content, the food, etc., and making it a worthwhile experience. I can't say enough about if it wasn't for you all, we wouldn't be able to do it. Because if it's just me talking into an empty room, that does absolutely no good. I could be doing other things. But because you all were involved and you said, yes, we're going to support you. Yes, we're behind you. That goes a long way. All right. So, John, let's talk a little bit about, before we go into the next section here, let's talk a little bit. So, any other observations from anything that happened Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Well, personally, I got a couple little shout outs. So my first one's to Zinko Madrusen. I don't know how he does it, but some special foreign beer showed up on my table just about every conference I've ever been to him with. I got something from Germany this time that I've never even seen in Grand Rapids before. So I don't know how you do it, Z, but thanks. Shout out to Laura Wise. It was great talking with her. I'd spoken to her on a podcast, and obviously I know her through her husband, Mike, but it was great talking to her about what they're doing for their business on the marketing side and just learning about what she does. And, she's not a geek inside, a tech inside like we are, but it was really cool to mesh what I knew and then mesh her professional skills on top of that. So, I guess my example there is, there's even people at the conference that aren't full techs that are bringing value and bringing to the conversation and bringing their skills on board. So that was awesome. Obviously, hats off to Galaxian Commander 1, Kerry Holzman. Lots of love for Matt Rainey. Where's my whiskey? And I love a donut run, Matt Rainey. So that was great. And my newbie shout out to Kevin Ranke, and not newbie to him, newbie to me. I'm the one new person that I met. So, overall in the conference, if I had to sum it up, I would say 2 thumbs up. Out of all the conferences I've been to, it was just really easy just to be there. I stayed. I didn't go home, so I stayed on site, and I got there a day early even. So, I was kind of pretending I was away from home. So, it was just easy. Everything was there. I didn't have to worry about food. I walked out the elevator and walked 10 feet, and I was at my chair. So, I think that's pretty tough to beat no matter what city it was in.
That's awesome. And let me I'm going to give a shout out to Laura Wise too, because she stopped me in a hallway, and I think this was Saturday. Might have been Saturday. It might have been Sunday. I can't remember. Anyways, she stopped me in the hallway and she looks at me in the Laura Wise fashion that she can. And she pointed at me and she goes, "You're not an event planner. I'm an event planner." And she goes, "I usually tear these things apart and I don't have one bad thing to say about it." I was like,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, you guys hit it out of the park. I think you did an excellent job, without a doubt. And I don't want to sit here on this podcast and make everything sounds like it was picture perfect, because I'm sure some things didn't go wrong perfectly for everybody that was there. And I'm sure some people had some travel troubles. I mean, besides leaving your rounds in your carry-on bag. But, overall, if you're going to weigh a conference or just, weigh the scales or balance the scales, I think it's pretty tough to beat for the price, for the value, for the information, and then just purely for the good time. I didn't run into anybody that wasn't having a good time at Dave & Buster's. So, I think that was great. If you didn't like the video games, you could just hang out and talk, which literally a lot of people did just in the room. So,
well, and
win-win.
So the game that Rachel Miller was playing where the coins and the cards
Oh,
drop off
yes.
the edge, and she kept playing over and over and over again. And we're trying to get, what was it? You're trying to get a set of
Star
Star
Trek
Trek
cards.
cards.
So yes, Rachel may need some counseling because I believe she was addicted to this game. But I may just be just as bad because, and you as well, and Paco, because everybody that started to wander over and watch her play suddenly couldn't leave.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. It was a little bit addictive, but we had a good time with that. That was a good time.
And I think you get, if you get the card set, you get like 2,500 points that you can spend at the store.
Yeah, 2,500 tokens to turn in.
Yes.
To
So that's
get
kind
some
of cool.
prizes. So I guess she got some toys for her kids or some stuffed animals or something.
That is awesome. All right. I want to take a quick second, and then we might have some more stuff to talk about, but let me take a quick second. And I want to thank our newest Patreon supporters. It's funny, when you go away, all of a sudden you have this plethora of Patreon supporters that all of a sudden keep signing up. Some that were even at the conference. They were like, yeah, I've been meaning to do this for a while. Let me get this done. And it is Brent Zanuski, Perry Thompson, Wayne DiMaggio, Kevin Reimer Ranke, and Jerry Stamey. So I appreciate all of the people there, and I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for your continued support. All right, John, are you ready to talk about some emails and comments on the secret Facebook group?
It's not any different than last time, Jeff. I work for you. Let's do it.
All right, so Brian Morris, and this is so. Before I go into that, let's talk about everybody at the conference. All 3 days were very, very encouraging in what they said and what they were talking about, as far as they were like, this is great. Now there was what do you call that? There was feedback. There was, not criticism, but what's the word I'm looking for, John?
Constructive criticism.
Thank you. Constructive criticism.
Well, there were some epic fails. We had some epic fails.
Yeah.
I mean, the projector was an epic fail.
Yep.
I mean, I was sitting right there, and it was epic fail.
Yeah.
So
you couldn't see it.
yeah. and I'm going to say we because that's on me too. We get that. I mean, I'm smart enough that I'd known we should have plugged that thing and tested it, but now we know.
Yep.
That's right.
Exactly. All right. We sound married. Okay. So, anyways, so from that standpoint, but I do really appreciate everybody giving their thoughts and comments. And from this point forward, feel free if you have any comments or anything that we can work on. We're willing to listen to everybody. Again, might not be able to do everything that everybody wants, but at the same time, we're going to take the feedback and we're going to try to, make it as good as possible. All right. So here's some of the feedback that we got in a email format or Facebook format. And this is from Brian Morris. Hey guys, thanks for all your work on the conference. It was helpful for Lisa and me. Awesome, Brian. Appreciate that. And this was the other thing too, John. I think we had 7 females there, either spouses or people working in the business, or sometimes not even people necessarily working in the business, there to support their business partner, which I think was really cool. So that was cool. Let's see. This is from Paul. Now, Paul, he says, I had a blast seeing y'all. Met some new interesting people and learned some things, even some helpful things. That's good.
Paul fits right in.
Yeah, exactly. I know you and the gang worked your butts off to pull this together, and overall, well done. I'll try to get my thoughts into a somewhat useful critique over the next couple of days and send it along. Have a great day. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. He was kind of a last minute add to the conference, and that worked out really good. Appreciated him coming out, and it was nice to meet him for the first time. And that's the other thing too, John, is it's always nice to meet the people that you're talking to on a regular basis. Even some of the new ones that you're like going, you've never met before. And it's kind of cool.
Very cool.
All right. And this is from Kurt Soderquist. Says, thank you. I looking forward to the next event. You guys knocked it out of the park. Now, again, I did not just pick all the best ones. These were just these are the honest feedback that we got. But this is kind of the whole attitude about the whole event, which still astounds me. And I'll say this. We had Friday night and everybody, I think, had eaten or everybody was kind of hanging out and we were getting ready to pull the podcasters up. Yeah, a little bit of drinking. And Paco and I were standing back and we're like, it was kind of a surreal moment, to be honest with you. because we're looking at everybody, we're seeing the engagement, and we're going, yeah, this is exactly what it was supposed to be. This is what it is supposed to be. We felt good about it as far as the people look like they actually were learning and enjoying themselves, which we appreciated. Because again, if people aren't learning and enjoying themselves, what's the point?
Only one problem with the whole conference is now you have set the bar so high that next year.
That's an actual fear, actually, to be honest with you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, we did knock it out of the park in the first one, and now we've got to either keep it that same level, or how do we surpass that? Not sure, but we'll figure it out.
Well, it's better than the reverse.
Exactly.
Better to have the challenge than to have a recovery.
And the other thing too is on Sunday after the raffle, I said, okay, everybody in this room, I said, be honest with me. How many people, if we had another event, would come back? John, I think everybody's hand was raised.
Yeah, I think in the moment everybody would come. I would be back even if it was in a different town. I mean, I'm willing to drive 15 minutes for it, Jeff, for sure. But yes, I would. If it was the same or similar in San Diego, I'd be there.
Okay,
without a problem, without a doubt.
Good to know. So that's cool. All right, this one comes from Dan Bailey, who I got to meet and had some good conversations with him, also him and his wife. Thank you so much for this info. I came away from TechCon Unplugged with renewed energy and lots of ideas about how to take my IT service company to the next level. Thank you for all the work and you and the others put into making this happen. Even my wife, Donna, who is not technical, but keeps the wheels turning in the office, was pleased that she was there. And she got a lot out of the Friday and Saturday sessions up until lunch when she skipped out for a couple hours to turn the QuickBooks wheels. Sometimes duty calls. And that's just a testament for people kind of being a little bit on the outside, but they're supporting their businesses in their own household and being there and going, if other people get something out of this, not just the technical people, that's awesome. There's something to be said for that, in my opinion. All right. This came from the compliancy group, Ken Walters. Thanks very much for sending, or let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for putting on a great event, and I look forward to coming back. Yes, please let me know when the venue is confirmed. I've had a lot of very positive feedback from my presentation, and we've certainly received a lot of interest. We'll stay in touch in the meantime. Be well. If anyone has any questions on HIPAA compliance, feel free to reach out. That was awesome. Just nice to hear. We've already got some of the vendors are going like, just tell us when it is. We're in, and we're like, okay. All right. So this is from Snap AV, Scott Normand. He said, thanks for the follow-up. We're getting lots of requests from attendees for the Wattbox, and it is going well connecting with them. Very cool. This is from, so John was actually taking this and he was doing it back and forth with Scott, which I thought was cool. Thank you, John, for doing that. And
2%, baby, 2%.
Hey, it's every percent counts. So we even got to the point where John was explaining, or it might have been Paco who sent out the original email. I can't remember. Anyway, somebody had said, Clark Stockdale is the one that won the Snap AV gear. And as everybody knows, it was a pretty big box that all this gear was inside of a rack. And so I made a joke on Sunday. I said, listen, I hope whoever wins this drove here because I really don't want to ship it. And it's funny because when he picked the number, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We picked the number when Jason Miller picked the number out and he came up and got it. I looked at him. I go, did you drive? He goes, yes, I did. I said, good. But here's the thing. So in the back and forth, Scott Norman said, hey, do I need to send you a shipping label to ship that to him?
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Dude.
They didn't have to do. We weren't even expecting that.
No.
It never wasn't even communicated that they would do that. So that was, I mean, obviously for them, they probably got the best UPS rates on the planet, but still, he didn't even have to take the time to send the email. So that was pretty cool.
That was awesome. And again, this is the again, I'm going to go back to the community that we're trying to build here, and this is why. All right, so Dado, Ryan Grinrod says, I wanted to thank you all for the warm welcome at TechCon. I really enjoyed myself and think you have a really strong community in the works. It was an honor to be a part of the event. And he was fun to talk to. He really looked like he was really soaking the whole aura of what was going on up continually and kind of checking it out. Before he came up to do his presentation with Marvin, he was like, he goes, man, your people intimidate me. I'm like, they ain't my people. He was talking, he's like going, yeah, he goes, Marvin intimidates me. I'm like, really? Oh, Marvin's a sweetheart. Don't worry about it. And so, but
well, to Dato's credit and to Ryan's credit, they weren't on my radar at all. I did the whole open mesh thing, and once open mesh kind of left or got absorbed by Dato, I checked out. But I spoke to Ryan quite a bit, and I must admit that Dato is back on my radar. Depending on, I'm very happy with Snap and Overseer and Arachnus right now, but if things don't change the way I need them to do, and when time comes, I've already talked to Ryan about a possible migration. So it was great to have them there. So at least, they went from 0 for me to at least on my radar, which was nice.
And that's a
Plus
lot.
you ubiquity guys. I'm tired of hearing about you too, but yeah, that's on my radar too now. So. Hey, you can't knock it when there's some sweet things there.
Absolutely.
When it's good tools, it's good tools. You can't, nobody's right or wrong.
Well, and that's the thing. And we've talked about this consistently on the show that you should grab the stuff and use the stuff that makes sense for you, makes sense for your business, makes sense for how you think. Those things are important, even though sometimes people discount them. It's like, no, we're not robots, people. We're actually individuals that think differently, and that's okay.
It would be really interesting, and I don't know how we would get this to happen if we could get Ubiquity, Snap, and Data all at the same conference. At that kind, get that personal touch that they gave us and some reps on site. But I thought Data was pretty smooth too, Ryan, when he was like, yeah, at least we were here. When he said, so kudos to him. So he fit right in. Again, he fit right in.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Good people.
All right. I'm sorry. Carry on.
No, that's all good feedback. So Malwarebytes, Michael Sherwood and Alex Smith wrote, hopefully you all made it home safely and nothing broke while you were away. We had a wonderful time hanging with everybody and getting to chat about your business and what you're seeing out there. It's always so helpful to hear directly from you. So we appreciate that. Again, very interactive. I think a lot of people were talking to them in the vendor hall and even outside the vendor hall. They were having all kinds of side conversations. We kind of got Alex, what was it, Friday morning, I think, and took him to breakfast with a group of people. So that was kind of cool because he had just flown in.
I did send us to the wrong New Beginnings, but other than that, it was great.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, the best thing I like about Alex is you just get him talking about something Windows related, and then you're just going to sit back and listen.
Yep.
And I mean that 100% positively. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. And he's willing to share. That's the awesome part.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. He loves what he does. You can tell that. All right. So this is from the secret Facebook group, and this was shortly after we came back, and this was from our very own Tom Bull. He says, many thanks to the organizers, presenters, vendors, and attendees who collectively put on a great event. Well done, everyone. We are a unique community and should continue to support each other in what we do with events like this, the podcast, and this Facebook group. Be an active participant, and you will reap many rewards. I come away with loads to do and changes to make. The outlook is more than bright. How will you brighten your future? So here's kind of some of the feedback I was reading through this morning. I thought this was very interesting, and I figured this was a good place to share it. So Kyle Kenyon says, aside from the changes I want to make in the shop, and this convention gave me a ton of great ideas and strategies. I walked away with a huge sense of accomplishment. I almost let anxiety overwhelm me with excuses to not go, but I stepped out of my comfort zone and had a great time and got to meet some great people in person. I now feel empowered to step out of my comfort zone in my business. That right there speaks tons to me, because for somebody to come there for the first time and open themselves up, and he asked a ton of questions from the audience, which I thought was great. And that's awesome. And that's what we want. And we'll kind of get into some of this too, because there were some comments that were made about, new people too. And Kyle's been around for a while. So let's see. Tom Bull says, Kyle Kenyon, go get him, Kyle. You have more talents than you realize. Step out, step up, and get yours. Dave Greenbaum says, as the fabulous John Dubinsky said, Do something that scares you to feel alive. I forgot you said that. That is a good one. I'm a shy extrovert, meaning that meeting new people scares me. Horribly, I remember who scared or how scared I was at my second convention. The first one I helped organize more, so I was too busy to meet or I was too busy to meet people. Sorry we didn't chat more at the event. Listen, here's a tip. If you want to get Dave Greenbaum talking, you just slip him a couple drinks and he mellows right out. No,
I'm surprised when you had that tickle in your throat, you just didn't rub a little green balm on your. And if you're there, you should be laughing out loud. Dave, thanks for being a great sport on that. And I will put a little pinch between my cheek and gum later tonight, and we'll be great.
That's awesome. Oh, the things that happen at Grand Rapids stay in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, high five to him. He's great. And he's another good, kind of like Mike Smith. He says he's a shy extrovert, but, anywhere Dave is, he kind of brings people together too.
Absolutely.
So it's just great.
And here's a little side story about Dave too, and I'll continue on. So I'd walked out of now most of the time I was hanging out there in the convention hall, checking out what was going on. I was kind of taking the mic around to the tables. Well, I'd stepped out for a minute because there was kind of a lull in the conversation. I didn't think they needed me for questions. So I went over to I think I was talking to John Fazio. And Dave Greenbaum knew that I had the mic in my back pocket for some reason, come rushing in the room, grabbed it right out of my pants and brought it right back in the room to give it to somebody so they could actually talk, so they could be recorded so people could hear the questions. That was the importance of getting the mic around. So again, kudos to him for stepping up and going, hey, I'm going to help out no matter what. If something needs to be done, I'm going to get in there and get it done. The other thing too is there was a couple people that had to leave on Sunday. You know that every person that had to leave early while I was helping set up the room on, Sunday morning, people came in to say goodbye to me specifically and thank me. And I really appreciated that because it meant a lot. They didn't just take off and do what they were going to do.
Well, I think maybe you're talking more about the community more than the conference. So,
Yes.
everybody there I really think was intent on making the conference good just from a community aspect. I think everybody arrived with the idea, how can we make this better for everybody? It really just kind of felt that way. Let's all engage and you said the magic words. Now the chat is saying, speaking of recordings, I mean, I'll let you get on.
So, we'll answer that question. So the recordings, for the most part, we didn't get Friday night. We did get most of all day Saturday. I think there was a little bit of cutoff. We had a little problem with the recorder. We did get all of Sunday. So we got 90% of the content that was talked about. So with that being said, yes, there will probably be recordings. I have them. Marvin B has sent them over to me, and I'll be working on those. It'll be at least a month before we kind of go through that and edit them and get them all cleaned up for kind of compiling them together all into one audio format. But we will at some point probably make those available. I know at least to the attendees, for the ones that were there, and then we'll figure out what we can do for if we just kind of put it out in the feed or whatever.
I thought that maybe that would be something else to put on our improvement list too. Not that we didn't do it, just to be better prepared for it.
Yes.
And to maybe make, and I'm not sure how we would do this, but to make it easier on the back end to get it out faster.
Yep.
And exactly. I know a lot of people talked about maybe it would be sweet to be able to record these sessions, but that might be secondary because I think that might add a lot of expense to do it right and correctly. Getting the right recording equipment, the right video equipment, the really good audio equipment to make all that happen.
Fortunately, so when I checked out the audio actually is rock solid, even though it was kind of hard to hear in the room sometimes if you were towards the back and somebody was not speaking up. I will tell you that the audio that came through, because we recorded it right at the mixer, was crystal clear. You could hear perfectly. So I'll have to do a little bit editing, but not much, and I'll just have to splice everything together. But we'll get that done. All right. All right. Kyle Kenyon says of Dave Greenbaum, definitely some simple yet very true advice that I will be implementing. This was my first convention that I've gone to in this industry and for my business. So it was different. Met a bunch of great people. Sorry we didn't talk in person. Next one. So that was awesome. All right. Chris Rivera says, Tom Bolt, I followed the advice you said before you left and do one thing when you get home. I did, and now to keep doing things for my business to improve. Tom Bolt says to Chris, fantastic news. Keep me posted and ask any questions. Again, people are more than willing to step up and say, hey, got any questions? I'm willing to answer them to the best of my ability because everybody's got answers to something. All right. So Kyle Kenyon asked a great question. He says, what's the first thing you will implement when you get back from TechCon? So Eric Exton, regroup, figure out how I want to specialize, make a plan, start with whatever is first on the plan. I love it. Straight and to the point. Mike Smith says, implement Synchro. Kyle Kenyon says to Mike Smith, good man. Mike Smith, not even 24 hours back, and my 10 biggest clients are on Synchro. That's awesome. Mike Smith also just signed up for Freedom Voice. So that's awesome too. All right. Adam Carpenter says, not wasting any time. Way to go. You'll wonder how you ever lived without PSA and RMM. Yes, once it gets past the learning curve.
Always a caveat. Always a caveat.
Nobody ever wants to talk about. Now, you know what? It's well worth it, and you will see a huge savings in time. I guarantee that. Dave Greenbaum says to Mike Smith, wow, good job. Ramey Bell, Mike Smith, fantastic start. Chris Rivera says to look at my business model and make some changes that will reach my goal. Kyle Kenyon, Chris, did your goal change post-conference? If so, what changed? Chris says to Kyle, well, I had an idea of some changes prior to the conference. When attending the conference, it validated the changes I was going to make. Some changes were upgrading to a business structure of LLC or S Corp. We'll work with Tech Marketing Engine to start a marketing plan. And then Keith Rosa says, always be marketing. Perry Thompson says, liver repair. You people are a bad influence. Tim Rutherford says to Perry Thompson, I don't know what you're talking about, LOL. Neil Shaver says, have Jason Miller pick my lotto tickets.
Amen. Yeah, shout out to Keith too. And Crystal Ball, had a good time with them. It was great to meet Keith's wife. She was there too.
Yep. Oh, Marvin B says, implementing sleep mode now. Curtis Soderquist, you know, the usual. Don't sleep with your clients. That did come up twice, which was very surprising. Now, I guess it wasn't surprising, but hey, it happens, I guess. Michael Cooley says, figure out and promote my niche or niche, I guess, if you're in Canada. Neil Shaver says, great time. Surprised to see how many attendees doing this part-time or just starting. Took me 13 years to attend my first conference. Good luck to all the newbie techs. Always be learning, always be selling. Carry those cards, wear those shirts. And RZLU says, wow. He goes, I'm still doing it part-time. Pretty much the reason I psych myself out of going, hopefully next year. And that brings up a good point. And this is why we tried to make the conference the way we did, because we wanted the ability to have everybody, no matter where you were at in your business, to be able to start from ground zero and learn from people that have been doing this a long time. And I'll be honest with you, and John, you know this, there's a lot of younger people out there, a lot of newer people that have fresh ideas. And quite honestly, sometimes I feel like we're like Congress and haven't had a fresh idea in 40 years. So
we may be worse than Congress, Jeff.
Probably.
That's why I'm not the only guy that co-hosts this show.
That's right. So we want to encourage everyone, you know, the plan is we're going to do this again, and now we had sent out a newsletter to everybody, giving them the slides for the conference and all that kind of stuff. And in doing that, we kind of put some dates out there. So it will be in September. We're not sure which weekend yet. It will be on a weekend, and it will be in 2020. So look forward to going there. And what I will say is, if you want to stay involved in what's going on, go over to TechConUnplugged.com, sign up for the email newsletter. We're not going to spam you. We're just basically going to give information as it comes available to let everybody know what's going on with the conference and other things that we're doing. All right.
All right. I do have a negative about the hotel. There is no hot tub. Enough said.
No, let's tell a little bit about that story. That was kind of funny. So John and Paco were sitting at the bar, and John and Paco were talking with other individuals that were there on Thursday night that came in early. And John and Paco get up and leave. And I'm like, where are you guys going? And they said, well, we're going to go get in the pool. I'm like, right now? They're like, yeah.
It's only
Okay.
11 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
I don't know what it was. Anyway, so we go up, get changed, come back down. We go in the pool. And I had asked before we even went down, hey, how's the water? Oh, it's pretty good. And I don't remember who said it. So we all walk in there. Mike Wise walks in behind us, fully clothed, no swim trunks.
We missed a really good opportunity.
Yes. I regret that from the bottom of my heart. Anyways, so we all get to the pool and we kind of put our foot in. And we're like, holy cow, this is cold. And there's no hot tub. It's all cemented in. The hot tub's gone. So we get in the pool and we're sitting there shivering. And it's just like, yeah. So we swam a couple laps or whatever and finally got out and went back up to the room.
No, I just like what I had to do. It was so cold. I went to the front desk and I asked Jessica just to be a smart aleck to say, I said, hey, is the pool heated? And she says, I said, no, don't worry. It's not. It's all right.
Yeah, that was the only negative thing is, it would have been nice to have a little heat on the pool. But
you got to complain about something. I'm an old curmudgeon.
That's right. That's what we do. All right, John, anything else about the conference we need to cover?
No, overall good. We got some high standards to meet next year. If I can invite myself to do my 2% again, and maybe the failures that we had, I think some of them are pretty easy to correct. The screen and the audio and all that. I'm not going to put a hot tub in, but I can ask him to turn the heat up next week when we're there. But on the pool, and then the big thing is just I think we got to, if we do it again, we got to bring it with the sessions to make sure that we're keeping the value.
Absolutely. So we're going to go into this is kind of I don't want to say a sad note, but there's going to be some changes that are coming, and I don't know how to better say it. Is basically Paco and I are leaving John too. We're leaving the Podnutz network, and this has nothing to do with Podnutz. It has nothing to do with Door to Door Geek, aka Steve McLaughlin, who I had a nice conversation with last night. This is purely a business decision, and there's a couple reasons. Number one, for a lot of people that don't know, I was just trying to get through this conference. I'll just be perfectly honest. I was on my way out because I was tired. I had a lot going on. It's a constant thing. When you get to when the community comes together and they fight you or they fire you up and get you going, it's a nice thing to see. When we came to this conference and people got so much out of it and people were helped, that's always been my heart's intent. So Paco would ask me, he's like, well, do we do another one? And I was like, well, if they want it, and that's why I asked the question on Sunday, we're going to do it. So in that whole process, we decided, okay, so we want to take a podcasting hiatus for 3 months, which means there is no more show. I mean, we're not going to be on the Podnutz network anyways, but there's no more show for the next 3 months. And there's a couple reasons for that. Yeah, exactly. John's like, yeah. There's a couple reasons for that. And the reason is we need to take a little bit of time, kind of gather our thoughts, decompress a little bit, kind of figure out what direction we're going to move in and how we're going to bring this all together with the conference and everything like that. Cause it is a lot of work. And I know people realize that. And I know they're very appreciative. So what we're going to do is, and Paco couldn't be here today, Paco, myself, and John we're going to actually start up another podcast that's tied to the TechCon Unplugged conference in January of 2020. So we're going to take 3 months off and we're going to come back and with a hopefully a good plan between the three of us and how we can make something work, and we'll work on times and all that kind of stuff. It'll probably still be on the live show, will probably still be on Sundays, but we've got a lot to discuss over the next 3 months. But the 3 months will also give us a little bit of time to be able to assess what we need to do, how we can make it better, not just to do the same old over and over again. So again, This is not a reflection on Podnutz or Steve McLaughlin at all. And I want everybody to realize that it's purely a business decision. And I know there's going to be people that are not going to be happy with that. And for that, I am sorry. There'll be other people where it's, they understand it is what it is. And we're just going to do the best that we can for the community. We're not, ostracizing them or, Podnutz or anything like that. We're going to have something a little bit different and separately from that. That's all. John?
Well, it's always sad when something this fun and this awesome, comes to an end. But the idea is we're trying to reinvent it to make it better for everybody. My only question, and I'm not aware of, and we already got a little feedback in the chat on this, is if people want to poke to say how they can help or stay in touch, is there an email address or some way for them to do that now? Or
there are several ways. Obviously, people know they can get a hold of me. I have several email addresses. You can use my business email address. Probably the best thing to do, and so we can get information out in a timely manner and find out who wants to do what, is go over to techconunplugged.com and go, because we're probably going to keep everything within that, I don't know,
domain?
web page or what, domain, whatever, something like that. We'll figure that out. But if you go over to techconunplugged.com and you actually sign up for the newsletter, you'll find out when things are happening. And probably another question is going to be the Facebook group. Nothing is happening with the Facebook group. It will remain. Nothing. If you choose to, continue to support the Patreon, again, I only charge that when we actually do a show. So you're going to have basically 3 months free, which is a good thing. So unless we end up coming out with something earlier, but I we'll see. I doubt it, because we all kind of need that. We need that reset, right? Basically is where it's at. Because like I said, I was at the point where I was like, I'm done. And for those that don't, there's always drama that goes on behind the scenes. And we don't ever bring that stuff out. We don't really, it is what it is. It's life 101. I've been on this earth long enough to know any organization you're in. And again, nothing to do with Steve or Podnutz at all. Zero. Like I said, I had a great hour-and-a-half conversation with him last night. And he has said, as he always has from the beginning, he will support us no matter what our decision is. So that, again, that's very appreciative, and I'm glad. So
yeah, if you know Dora, he's a quality guy.
Yep. And hopefully we'll see what happens. He was supposed to be there at the conference this year. Maybe we can get him to come back out and hang out with us next year. That'd be awesome. So. All right. Anything else, John?
So I just want to say it one more time. If you're listening to this, and probably we should put it in the CRP group, or maybe I'll drop it in there too. TechConUnplugged.com. Put in your name and email address. Get 10 emails over the next three months, maybe.
Yeah,
10. Maybe. Just to say what the plan is, what you need to know, how you can get in touch, what we want to do, and then to obviously start the bidding to be on the first show of the first year. So I'll be collecting all that cash to make sure it's no, but really we want to, and let's get everybody in the group more involved. The idea is to build more community involvement and make the CRP group / whatever it's going to become even better to build up to next year, September.
Yes. And a little bit from everybody does go a long way. It really does. It makes the job a lot easier for all that are involved. And I know, again, everybody appreciates what we do and coming out here week after week after week, most weeks. But at the same time, yeah, there's nothing else I could say. I appreciate everyone that has listened to us for the last 5.5 years on the Podnutz network. And hopefully you'll follow us wherever we go. That's the plan, as far as if the content still, it revolves around you and something you want. If not, then hey, it's been a great 5.5 years, and it's been a great time talking to this audience and really getting some great feedback from everyone.
Without the community, it's not worth doing it.
Absolutely. Exactly. And so hopefully you guys will be there to support us and moving forward, and we will keep everybody apprised, and we'll continue to have a lot of good information in the secret Facebook group and all that kind of stuff. And also, as a little side note, we'll figure something out for and like I said, it's going to take me probably about a month because I'm still paying bills and all kinds of stuff for this conference. But as far as figuring out something for the attendees, if we're going to do another group or how we're going to mesh that together, or some thoughts on that process, we want to get a way that we can communicate with individuals or as a collaborative group somehow for this conference. So, all right. Well, with that, anything else, John?
Parting is such sweet sorrow, Jeff.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere we're not going anywhere as far as you can always get a hold of us. Obviously, we're still out there. We're still rocking and rolling. We're just taking some time and reassessing. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Amen.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for this last 5.5 years. Really appreciate it. I want to thank Door to Door Geek, aka Steve McLaughlin, for hosting us for this last 5.5 years, and has been nothing but a stellar partner in everything we've done and a great support. I want to thank everyone for also listening and subscribing. We'll see you next time in January 2020, if not sooner. All right. Have a great one, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.